such, using the kind of language that makes the sergeant blush. Oh, who wouldn't join the army? That's what we all inquire. Don't we pity the poor civilian sitting around the fire? Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. Oh, it's a lovely war. Oh, wouldn't be a soldier, eh? Oh, it's a shame to take the pay.
In recent months, we've all been caught up in the commemoration of the outbreak of the First World War. The various memorials and commemorations will go on for many months yet. We know this is a commemoration of the greatest importance. It is, after all, our greatest national trauma. But it's very easy to become weary of the whole thing and cease to be engaged. One important aspect is that we should become more aware of the local importance of the war, its impact immediately on our own communities in the past and in the present. One major resource that we often overlook is our local war memorial. So great was the loss of the First World War that only 2 or 3 small villages in Britain lack a memorial. The First World War invented the war memorial, yet we walk past them, sometimes on a daily basis, hardly noticing they are there. Often they bear a lot of illuminating information that can give us a vivid insight into the history of our own community. In this short presentation, we're going to look at one such memorial and see what it can reveal. And this is the War Memorial at St Saviour's Church in Guildford. So here we are. This is the St Saviour's War Memorial on both sides of the arch as people come into church. I think for most people it's next to invisible. When they come into church, they don't even see it. On their way out, they're talking to their friends, and maybe quite a lot of people wouldn't even know where it was in church. But it's full of important information, and we're going to look at some of that now. The First World War was a horrendous human disaster. Perhaps, as I said, our greatest national trauma. Its impact still continues in our history. And just about every war memorial, maybe every war memorial, includes some kind of statement that helps people come to terms with what has happened and give a reason for the terrible price that has been paid. So here, in this war memorial, it begins with a preamble, as they all do, to the glory of God and in grateful remembrance of the men of this parish who gave their lives in the Great War in the cause of justice, freedom, and humanity. And you will find something similar on almost every war memorial. And I think it's a helpful starting point to reflect on what those words meant at the time of the war and immediately after, and how it gave a framework for people to reflect on the experience of the war and its loss. This memorial lists on the 2 pillars 88 names from this parish, men who gave their lives in the Great War. It's not a large parish. In 1918, 1919, it would have had a greater population than today, but still not a great number. And just some reflection on the cost in this community of losing 88 young men during this time should be part of our commemoration and our memory. One valuable thing about this memorial is that the names are divided according to the years in which people died. 1914 all the way through on the other pillar to 1919, reminding us that even after the formal conclusion of hostilities, there were still some losses of life, landmines and other causes. It's interesting that the number of casualties, the number of deaths in each year is fairly similar. I anticipated that the year 1916, the year of the Battle of the Somme and other great struggles might include many more names. In fact, it's not so. Interestingly, the one year which has many more names is 1918, the year of the final German push, the desperate German push, followed by the Allied advance, which brought the war to a conclusion. And it's interesting to see that there are really twice as many names listed in 1918 as in any other year. This memorial is, I think, unusual in the amount of detail it includes. On some memorials and in villages this might be very obvious. You will see that there are a number of names from one family. That's less noticeable on this one here. In fact, there's no example where very evidently a number of names are listed from one family. But often in a village, you would be able to recognize that. What this war memorial does include is quite a lot of information about the status of each person recorded. So their rank is listed: sergeant, corporal, leading seaman, private, and you can work all the way through. Someone here is described as a writer, and here someone as a first-class boy. But everyone's rank is listed without distinction as to whether they are senior or junior. And secondly, the regiment of the person is also recorded. Often, in a particular area, many of the young men went to serve in a local county regiment. What struck me looking at this was the great diversity of regiments to which people from Guildford went to serve, not just local infantry regiments. There are more than 20 different regiments or military units that are listed on these two pillars here. Just before us here we have the Queen's Regiment, the Royal Berkshire Regiment, the Royal Irish Regiment, the Royal Medical Corps, the Inniskillen Fusiliers, the Coldstream Guards. It goes on and on. Also from the Royal Navy and from the Royal Air Force in its earliest days. The final piece of information which this war memorial reveals is where people died. And I was struck looking at this again at the diversity of the information we have here. A lot of people died, as you'd expect, in France, in the trenches, in the main theatre of war. Other people died in England, maybe because as a result of wounds in France, but a considerable range of places. India, Gallipoli, quite a lot of names from Gallipoli, Jutland, the great naval battle at Jutland, Mesopotamia, Turkey, Mesopotamia again, a number in Mesopotamia, and on the one over there, a number of other places, including Scapa Flow in the Orkneys. I suppose the St. Saviour's War Memorial gives quite a picture of a very diverse and cosmopolitan community. These men went off to serve in a great diversity of regiments and a great diversity of places, and this War Memorial is a testimony to that. We've been greatly helped here by a man who lives in our parish, Edward Eady, who's got a great interest in war memorials, and he has done further research on every name on this list. And I believe I'm right in saying that he has managed to find some additional information about every name on this list. It may simply be the address at which they lived, but in many cases it's some other personal information about their profession or career. The purpose of this small presentation is really to encourage other people to look with fresh eyes at the war memorial, maybe several war memorials in their community, to see what they actually say, what they actually reveal about the men who laid down their lives during the First World War, and to use it as a resource for understanding their local community and their local community's experience of the Great War.